Hello and welcome to the Love Exquisite Magazine. My name is Lynette Clement and I am the creative director of the Love Exquisite Magazine. This is the September 2020 edition. So I'm going to be reading from the Business and Financial Matters section, and it's an article titled Spending Habits. So I decided to write this month in that section because it's very important, in the economic climate that we live in today. We have to really think about our spending habits with people losing jobs and the way that businesses are run today. It is important. It's something that we may have never thought about before, or would never have taken it as serious, I'll say. So, spending habits is extremely important, especially when in a marital relationship, as well as when you're single, as well as when you're in a monogamous couple relationship where you have combined incomes. So, I'm going to give you some of the tools in here. And you can check it out in the September 2020 edition of the Love Exquisite magazine, which you can access at loveexquisite.com, LOVEXQUISITE.com for free. We educate to elevate here at Love Exquisite Magazine. There's a bunch of different articles in our magazine, and we give you a wealth of knowledge and information and inspiration. So I hope you check out the entire magazine at loveexquisite.com. This one in particular, again, is in the Business and Financial Matters section, which we include every month. This is called Spending Habits. So let me drink a little bit of water because I've already read some of the articles and I'm a little thirsty. So as you know, these are unedited. Unedited. So I give it to you real, ready, and raw. Here we are. Finances is said to be one of the main reasons why couples argue. Would you agree? Money is not everything, but it definitely does matter. So, again, money is not everything, but it definitely does matter. It is important to speak with your partner about how he or she spends their money. You want to make sure that you and your partner know how to prioritize financial expenses responsibly. So again, you want to make sure that you and your partner know how to prioritize financial expenses responsibly. It's important. That's the key word in that whole entire sentence. Responsibly. There are items that you buy that you should categorize as wants versus needs. Your wants should not impact your needs, but your needs might impact your wants, depending upon how much money you make. One of the important questions to ask yourself about your spending habits is, can we financially afford this expense and still pay our monthly bills without struggle? The key words in that sentence are without struggle. This question should be asked before making the decision about whether or not you should proceed with the purchase. So the key word in that sentence is before making the purchase. Before is the key word. If the answer is no, then you want to reevaluate your spending habits. So if the answer is no, that you cannot afford the purchase and pay your bills without struggle, then you should not make the purchase at that time. Your spending habits do matter. So married couples tend to want to have a joint account, but be mindful when you are joining your money with someone who might not have good spending habits. This is why it's important to find that out in advance to deciding on if you'll have a joint account or not. To avoid financial arguments, in my opinion, couples should have several accounts. One joint account for strictly paying the bills, which is your needs, a separate account which is personal, your separate personal account, and your mate has a separate personal account for buying what they want and you buy what you want. Those are what you want. And then a joint savings investment account to grow your money, like a money market account or some form of a brokerage account where you earn interest and your money grows from those type of investments, as well as a joint vacation account once. To be able to vacation when and where you want to. If you and your mate like to travel a lot, it's important to open up a separate vacation account. That way, these different accounts will allow you to manage your money and not dip into a needs account for wants ideas and purchases. You know what I mean? So you want to keep your needs accounts where it needs to be so that your needs can be met first. So you keep your wants accounts separately. Setting up these different types of accounts could save you from arguing about how you spend your personal money. So I'm sure you know by now, if you're in a relationship or if you had a relationship in the past, that sometimes you can argue about how you spend your personal money. If for example, if you're a guy who wants to buy a motorcycle and it might take away from some of the bill money, you might say, well, why can't I buy a motorcycle? And then we double up on the bills next month, and then you find yourself arguing about certain situations. Or you might be a female who wants to buy a expensive pocketbook, expensive handbag, and your mate says, well, why do you need a handbag when you could just buy one from a different store for cheaper? And you into brands and whatever the situation may be, and we can't really afford it at this time. So instead of having to argue, if your needs are met and you have additional money in your own personal account, there's nothing wrong with spending your personal money on what you want to purchase, as long as it doesn't affect and interfere with any of your needs accounts. So what you decide to buy coming out of your own personal account, where it's your physical money, it's not our joint money together, which makes the difference, which can eliminate the argument. When it's not joint money together, it's like, oh, why do you tell me that you bought a $10,000 motorcycle or whatever, and we have to get repairs done on the house? So it just will save you the argument if you set up different accounts. I know that some people would disagree with that, but that is my own personal opinion. So try it. I'm telling you, you'll find it to work effectively. Now, here's why someone would argue. So setting up different type of accounts could save you from arguing and how you spend your personal money. So some people might argue against that because they might be the type of person that wants to control and monitor and see and how every dollar and cent is spent to make sure that you are doing the right thing with your money. So just make sure that you have the conversation, because each person is different, each couple is different, and ultimately at the end of the day, you have to do what works for you and your household. But keep this in mind, because it will save you from arguing about how you spend your money. So you also have to establish rules on how each account must be handled accordingly. So if you do decide to set up separate accounts, you want to make sure that each account is handled separately, and how each account is separately. What are the rules for the wants accounts? What are the rules for the needs accounts? Like needs accounts, as referenced above in the magazine, I should say, are usually deposit only accounts. So it's like, don't go dipping in the needs accounts, because they are not for withdrawals, they are for deposits only, because they are used to usually pay the bills. So you don't want to withdraw from bill money, because then you'll be behind in your bills, because some bills will come in and then there'll be not enough money in the account because of the withdrawal. So it's good to have the needs accounts as deposit only accounts, unless there is a mutual agreement to do otherwise. So some wants accounts could be withdrawal accounts, but as a couple, you have to decide on how the accounts will be used by each party, and under what circumstances can the money be withdrawn, if applicable. So if you decide to have a joint account, you have to come up with rules. Don't just set up a joint account without rules, because you'll be arguing about how the money is allocated and to where, if you don't have those rules in place prior to setting up an account. And talk with the person at the bank, at your bank. They'll give you more insight on what's best to do for you in your situation, and depending on what it is that you're trying to set up, what type of account that you're trying to set up. So some couples will argue against this strategy, again, like I said, because they want to be able to track and control every dollar spent. But those are usually the couples who argue about money. If you cannot afford to buy it, don't buy it until you can financially afford to do so. Before making large purchases, it is best to speak with your partner about whether or not the purchase fits within your monthly budget plan and billing cycle. It is not good to live off of credit. So that's one thing that people like to do. Sometimes if they say, if they're not spending the cash on hand, oh, I'll just put it on my credit card. But that is something that you'll still have to pay back. And it accumulates interest as well. So your purchase that might have been $100 or $2,000 will now add on the interest on top of that money. So you'll be paying back more over time versus if you spent cash. So keep that in mind to monitor your credit. The best way to determine when to make purchases is by tracking your spending habits through a monthly budget system. One of the ways in which you can track your spending habits is to keep copies of your receipts in one neutral location, and at the end of the week, review where you spend your money. If you are spending more of your money on wants and not your needs, you have the wrong type of spending habits that could be detrimental to your debt to income ratio as well as to your relationship. You don't always have to have what you want immediately, especially if you can't afford it, at least in that present time. If it is something that you really want and that you must have, you have to make sure that you meet your needs first. Then save up the money that you need to save up so that you can get what you want later. Your spending habits matter and could be the death or life of your future. When spending money, it is better to invest in opportunities that are going to generate more money, more revenue, rather than subtract from your money. So it's better to spend money on things that are going to bring back money rather than spending money on material things that do not produce any type of revenue for you. Yes, it makes someone else rich, the person that you're patronizing or the business or brand that you're supporting, but it does not bring back any revenue for you. So aren't you tired of making someone else rich? Then think about what you need to do with your money so that you can be rich too. So investments are important. And I'm not saying don't support businesses, because I have a business and of course I need and want your support. But if it's going to take away from your needs, then that's not the type of, it's not a solid purchase that I think that you should sacrifice. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it like that. So if you cannot afford to buy it, don't. That's all I'm saying. If you can afford to buy it and you want it, then talk with your spouse, or if you're a single person, just make sure that you're not taking away from your needs. So never go into debt to fund someone else's dream. Never go into debt yourself to fund someone else's dream. And I'm saying that as a business owner, because I'm not in the business to take your money. I'm in the business it's something that I'm passionate about. It's something that I enjoy doing, and in the end, my intention is to make people feel better about themselves, to make people feel beautiful, more beautiful, I'll say, and makeup does that. Some people say, oh, you don't need to wear makeup, but when you put a little makeup on, whether it's just lipstick or lip gloss, sometimes you have more confidence and you feel better about yourself. So whatever it is, I'm here for it, if it's making you feel better. So these suggestions are what some would call having a broke man's mentality or a broke woman's mentality. So oftentimes when people talk about, oh, you got to monitor how you spend your money, people say, oh, come on, you know, that's that broke man's scared money don't make no money, and all of that, you know, the sayings that you hear out there. But at the end of the day, you have to be wise. You have to be wise about how you spend your money, because money is something that you might not get back. You know, once it's gone from your hands, if you're not spending it the right way, then it won't produce any more additional revenue for you. It's just continual subtraction, continual reductions of your salary, of your income. You want to make sure that you're making deposits as well into your own life that's going to sustain you financially long term. So it's not about having a broke man's mentality. What it is it the type of thinking, that type of thinking when people say, oh, you being frugal, oh, you're so frugal, or you're so cheap, or whatever, you know, you can't take it with you, you gotta just spend it, and all of this stuff. If you are in a financial bind, you don't want to stay there. So you want to make sure that you're doing the right things with your money. So forget whoever says, oh, you scared money don't make you no money, or the broke man's mentality and all of that stuff. You have to make wise decisions with how you spend your money. At the end of the day, that is the bottom line. So these suggestions again are what some would call having a broke man's mentality. But that type of thinking is so far from the truth. If you really think about it, rich people are usually the most frugal. They're the most tight with money. You look at them, you look at a rich person, and you look at somebody who's not rich, and you see their outfits, you'll see a distinct difference. Usually the people that don't have the money feel like they gotta wear the brands and floss and flex, and then you look at a rich person and they look like they're broke. You know, so it's because they have their financial priorities in order. They know what's important and what's not. So that's something that you have to think about. So it's not a broke man's mentality. It's actually thinking about generational wealth is what it really is. So just think about how you spend your money. No, again, you cannot take it with you when you die. But when you spend your money wisely and invest wisely, you can leave some money behind for your children if you have children, instead of leaving them your debt. So how often do, you know, our loved ones pass on, and then you gotta do a fundraiser, do a fish fry, you know, a fundraiser for something to either pay their medical expenses or to pay for their funeral. You know, so if you are setting up yourself and spending your money wisely, you don't have to rob Peter to pay Paul, or borrow for what you want and beg for what you need. You know, you don't have to do those things when you govern your money and spend your money wisely. So I believe that you don't put your financial burdens onto anyone else. If you dug yourself into a hole, then it's a hole that you should be able to dig yourself out of when you don't make wise decisions with your money. So just keep that in mind, and how you spend your money, it is important. So monitor how you spend your money and spend your money wisely. This is in the business and financial matters section. It's called Spending Habits, and it's by myself, Lynette Clement, in the Love Exquisite Magazine for September 2020. Thank you. Peace and blessings.